to ABC Bullion's 360 monthly review. My name's Bron Suchecki. I'm joined by Nick Frappel, Global General Manager at ABC Bullion. Welcome, Nick.
Hello, Bron. Thank you.
I know this is a monthly review, but it's pretty hard to pass up making some comment on Trump picking up COVID. The price popped and then dropped back down, so didn't seem too fussed.
It didn't seem too fussed, and I think that's partly because so far the polling hasn't really changed. There hasn't been a significant shift from one to the other. Biden still has a lead, and I guess the sort of the main factors around the debate and around gold and the dollar and economics, for example, the degree of stimulus and so on, those things haven't really changed. The Democrats passed a stimulus bill in the lower house because they control the lower house. That's pretty unlikely to get through the upper house.
Right.
So a lot of that stuff hasn't really changed in any material sense.
Do you think, I've seen commentary that people arguing that if Biden gets in, it'll be a bit more pro-gold positive than Trump. Do you see a little bit?
Yeah, I see it a little bit more pro. I think, apropos of things you've said, that probably there isn't a huge difference because there's still the need for stimulus and so on. Question is how quickly and how easily it gets delivered. I guess, the more likely Biden is to become president, the Dems are likely to be in power, then the more likely it is that stimulus will arrive in a slightly bigger package and earlier. But I think if you look at it, both parties, there shouldn't be as big a difference between the parties as perhaps that.
I was expecting more price volatility coming into the election. Gold doesn't seem really to have reacted to all the developments that are happening. It's unusual, I suppose.
Yeah, we've seen that big drop, and the big drop held. We were tracking up the weekly turning line for all that time during the major part of the rally, and that was a great support level. Once we broke through there, I suppose the positive thing technically is that we held the weekly standard line for both gold and silver. So that was that was important. The market's still medium term, perhaps long term bullish. There's still a way to go before the election, I guess. There's a month, so.
What more could possibly happen though?
Don't say.
President getting COVID.
There's an expression, I don't know who said it, a week is a long time in politics, so we've got 4 of those. So,
okay, it's fair enough. So you're saying that big drop during the month where gold knocked down through 1900 and got down into those sort of mid-18s, I suppose, that didn't really make any major technical damage to?
I don't think so. There was an increase in people shorting gold, but they seemed to buy back quite powerfully when gold sort of hit a volume weighted average of about 1880. So that was good. They took profit and so on. There hasn't been a significant reduction in the managed money longs if you look at it over the course of the month. So people still seem broadly committed. There has been a slight reduction. Of course, ETFs grew for gold, slightly reduced for silver. If you look at it at a sort of the big picture level, that technical view for gold and also the macroeconomic view for gold hasn't really changed. What has changed in the last month, or what did change in the last month, was a fairly decent rally in the dollar. I think that rally sort of goes to 95, 96. It's got to 94 plus, and now it's hit daily cloud sort of resistance. It's kind of plowing into that area and weakening a bit, which is good for gold. But that's really been the story of the last month. Has really been a sort of a technical bounce in the dollar.
So silver, we saw that really come down with gold, but the bounce back up wasn't as significant. So the ratio took a bit of a hit. It had a nice stable sort of at 70, and then it's bumped quickly back up to the 80s. Do you see silver being able to catch up with gold and put that ratio back down? And hopefully, we were obviously quite a while ago, I think we were talking possibly of 60s. At one stage. That seems a bit far away now.
Basis the chart that I normally use for looking at ratios, which has been quite a reliable guide, I see silver definitely strengthening and sort of, if you like, outperforming versus gold, 74, maybe 73. And it is recovering relatively well on that front from the weakened position that you've mentioned. I think short to medium term, or short term, I think we can see 25, 26 in US dollar terms, 74 in ratio terms. So I think silver I was a bit worried it might really cave in, but
Yeah.
it held that weekly standard line, bounced off that quite nicely. So it looks like it's capable.
Is that
of
investor
recovering.
money driving that mostly, or in the industrial? I mean, how's the industrial side of silver? Is that being impacted? No change there?
Well, it's a bit difficult to get visibility on true level of industrial demand. The presumption is that it's weakened by what's going on.
Yeah.
Saying that, we have seen signs of quite decent economic data out of the States, suggesting a recovery. So that's positive. In terms of investor money, investors have sold a little bit over the course of the month, but not very much. And they haven't really increased their shorts. This is going up to, say, the 29th of September. So actually the recent recovery, maybe more, I would say, investor driven.
Yeah. And obviously our favourite topic, the dollar, which has befuddled everyone, I suppose, its performance. I mean, I suppose that's obviously US dollar mainly driven at the moment.
Yes.
Yeah.
US dollar driven, but saying that, the Aussie itself looks as though it's just had like a little bit of a mini recovery to sort of the current levels. I think it's probably played out that mini recovery, so I'm tending to think that it's actually going to carry on weakening to sort of back to 67, 67 and a half. If you look at the dollar index, the US dollar index, that hit the resistance in the daily cloud. I still think the US dollar could recover sort of to 95.80ish, 96 maybe on the dollar index basis. But right now it's recovered pretty well, had a good technical bounce, now hitting resistance. So and weakening. So that's positive for the dollar.
And what about RBA's
meeting?
meeting? I mean, I've seen some people call for them to take another 15 basis points off and push us for. I mean, that obviously would have a bit of an impact on the Aussie.
Yes, and I think that's where the Aussie is having a little bit of the weakness fed in. It's hard to know whether 15 on the cash rate really amounts to anything.
I know, yeah.
But
it's
I think
symbolic than anything.
It's symbolic, but what I think people are really looking for are comments around bigger things like, will they engage in sort of significant amounts of quantitative easing, yield curve management, all to a larger extent than they have done. And that's the thing where I guess people are thinking that probably is on the cards. I think rate-wise, the 15 basis points is more of a signaling thing rather than, what do I know? I don't run a central bank, but I think it's all of the ancillary measures they could take that are more important for the dollar.
So the Aussie gold price, silver price, I mean, they've been somewhat flat, even though the gold price took a drop at the exchange rate counterbalance. So we've been a bit sideways. Say 26.50, I suppose, in Aussie gold. So I mean, combining everything you've said, what's the outlook for?
I think for local investors, given that fairly positive US dollar, gold and silver as an underlying, and then slightly negative on the Aussie dollar, I think that you'd be well protected, and I'd expect better moves on the Aussie gold and Aussie silver, and I'll put some targets into the sort of the monthly report
that's
and
coming out,
so just sort of say where that's likely to go.
Good, thanks, Nick. Well, we look forward to seeing those technicals to give people an idea where to buy in. Stay in touch with the markets by following us on our social channels and at abcbullion.com. Until next time.
Thank you.